What's up guys, you guys are watching the iherng podcast and today we will answer a question from email. This is from Miss I. How are you? My name is Miss I knew you from my best friend who knows that I am searching for a new property. I am glad that I know you before my decision to buy a new house for my new own stay. I have watched your video for the past month, which is great advice for property buyers. Thank you for the great jobs. Both my husband and I are in our early 50s, both employed in MNC. We have money savings after all expenses, average at 5,000. We have an 8,000 square feet condo, the first one at Desa Petaling, the KL second house. The first house was abandoned landed house and sold 10 years ago. And a single story house, 22 by 70 in Salak Selatan in KL, that's the third house. Both have been fully paid off. We have 2 kids going to complete their studies for another 3 years for uni and secondary. Hence, we are thinking of having a half retirement plan. That is to buy a double-story house away from KL and at the same time bring over my parents-in-law from our hometown. This is planned for 3 years later due to kids schooling still nearby KL now. We have shortlisted projects below after visiting 7 new projects for Sendayan, Seremban, Cyberjaya, Semenye, price range around 750 to 880,000. Plan to top up about 250,000 after selling the single story included renovation cost for the new property. Number 1 is Mio Spring at Gamuda Cove, leasehold at 890,000, Serni Residences at San Surya, freehold at 850,000, Cherry Woods at Eagle Majestic, freehold at 800,000. Condo will be kept at the second house, either rent or kids to stay when they are working in KL. My questions. Number 1, is it the right choice for a half retirement plan, buying property at the age of 50 and plan to sell single story for a double story? Number 2, we have faced an abandoned project before during our first properties about 20 years ago. Even though it had been taken over by another developer after 9 years, it had cost us a lot of money by renting and paying house installment at the same time. We have phobias for a new housing project. Current properties were bought from sub-sales. Will the above projects be reliable? Number 3, will the area of Semenye and Salak Tinggi be good for own stay? How is the potential for future developments? Number 4, is it a good time to buy now or should we wait for another 3 years to buy sub-sales from the same area? Seems like sub-sales are cheaper around the new developments now. Number 5, I have a friend who told me that this is not a good time to buy property. Is this correct? Number 6, what is your view for projects that have been shortlisted above? Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. Regards, Miss I. So first of all, thank you very much for watching the channel. Thank you very much to your friend who recommended the channel to you. And I hope for those who are listening to this, right, the only thing that I hope for is my work to reach more people. So if you guys don't mind, really do just help share this channel out with your friends, because I really hope that my work can inspire more people to help more people in the future. Then for Miss I here, husband and wife both in 50s, trying to get a landed properties because of their semi-retirement plan. And they have 3 properties right now, one in Desa Petaling, another single story house in Salak Selatan. So the plan here is to get a double story house in the shortlisted locations because they want to also stay away from the city, enough of the city life really. They also can host their parents, but then still keep the landed apartment for kids or to either just rent out lah. So what do I think? So is it a right choice for a half retirement plan, which is to buy a property at the age of 50 then plan to sell the single story for a double story? To me, ultimately, property, right, the whole point of it is for dwelling. So it means that it's a place for us to set up our family, set up our life. Therefore, location plays a very, very big part of it. As I always say, property is seriously beyond build up, beyond number of rooms, beyond the specs. It's the amenities surrounding a particular location that counts. That's why a lot of people that stays in Cheras will forever be in Cheras if they grow up in Cheras. But from an outsider who have no clue, always get lost in Cheras one, right? I will never move to Cheras just because I'm not familiar, because I'm more familiar with the Subang Jaya pace, with the Bukit Jalil pace or whatsoever. Same thing, PJ people won't move to Cheras, Cheras people won't move to PJ. And that's the beauty about real estate, that's the beauty about property. That's why when you buy property, especially for own stay, the entire metric of consideration is very, very different. So for you, the purpose is for your family to set up a new place beyond the city center. So whether is it right or wrong, right? It really depends on your intent. If that's the intent, you need bigger space in a more quiet area to host your parents-in-law. It's a very clear objective, and if the property can support that, by all means. And whether 50 or not 60 years old, the only setback to that will be the down payment required, and the loan financing will be reduced. So maximum now banks will recognize up to 70 years old, some 65 years old. So it depends on which bank. As long as you guys can afford, I don't see why not. And whether a single story or not, that's relevant, right? So a 500 square feet in KLCC will worth $1 million today, but $1 million can buy a double story house in all the places that you just mentioned, right? So is it right to then sell the apartment to get a double story house? That's the beauty of real estate as well. So actually this is a big fan of real estate, like, as you can clearly tell, right? So the same $1 million can get you different living experience throughout the country. So it means you can get a very small unit in the city center that can really serve you, because at that moment of time you work in the city, convenience should be prioritized. That makes sense. Then after you slowly move out, you want to build out a family, that wouldn't be ideal anymore. That can be converted into an investment unit that you rent out to give you positive cash flow. Then you use that to compensate the place that you are renting or buying. So after that, you are enough of all this life already. The value of these properties can then be exited. You get all those cash to be plowed into a house that you really, really want. And throughout all the episodes, right, I've mentioned this before, I think the ideal dream home of ours will only be actualized when we are in our 40s to 50s, because we have gone through everything. When we just graduate, we try to survive. Then after survival, we have slight abundance. We start providing for family, start building our own families, and then we need to serve our family already. So usually the location is dictated by several things: the place we work, the school that our kids attend, and the planning for their future. Usually these are the components. Rarely we will pick a location purely for us until we are 45, which means like your kids starts graduating already in the midst of their ending their education. So they will go out themselves. This is when, hey, you know, it's time for enjoyment a little bit after working for so long. But many may think that we are shortchanging ourselves, right? We got so little time to live anymore. But if you take care really of yourself, your own health, most of us are going to live until 90, 100. So if you really get the ideal house, the location that you really, really like, the space that you can really, really do your gardening, you can have an aquarium at home, feed turtles, feed fish or whatsoever. At 45 to 50, that will be the ideal age where you clearly know what kind of lifestyle you want and what kind of lifestyle you can afford. So to me, whether is it a right choice or not heavily depends on your ambition, heavily depends on your objective. If you can afford it, I don't see why not. Then the second question, we have faced an abandoned project before for our first property 20 years ago. Even though it has been taken by another developer after 9 years, it cost them a lot of money because they need to rent at the same time pay for the housing installment. So that is the very, very sad part about developers in Malaysia last time. But now after the new HDA Act, right, with the new Housing Development Act, these kind of things has been minimized. Lately, there's still one around Kuchai Lama side. That's a very sad thing actually, because a lot of people don't know this, the risk of buying a brand new property directly from a developer, right? Let's say once you book and you make payment, you sign SPA already, and maybe at stage 2A or 2B that the developer choose to abandon, right? Whatever money that the bank has released to the developer so that they can further construct the whole building, that amount stays with you until you finish paying it. So although the project has been abandoned, whatever money that has been dispersed by the bank on behalf of you, there will be payments of installments and interest required from the lender, which is me as the buyer. So when the project is abandoned for 10 years, right, as the so-called owner of the incomplete project, right, you will still need to pay for the loan, you will still need to pay for the interest until it finished. So hoping the only way out will be another person taking over the whole project and to reconstruct again. The ugly part to that is then a lot of existing buyers are already furious, already very upset. So that makes the takeover process even worse, because once the takeover process happens, right, these are the people like so-called white knight coming in to kind of try help solve the problem if they can, but they will also face resistance from the existing buyers, and I clearly understand why. All your hard-earned money, you save so long, suddenly, okay lah, I decide I put my money with you, Mr. Developer, and you bail. What the hell, right? And before the HDA was enacted, these kind of cases were pretty common across Klang Valley. I still remember when I was a kid, driving around Shah Alam, Klang, around KL, right? A lot of such things happen. A lot of people just bail halfway through because there's no way to catch them anyway. So the moral of the story is, screw them, right? For those developers who are in the business just to screw people's money, may the law punish them or whatsoever. The other side of it is, we need to start cherishing the existing developers, especially those that have developed and delivered the project despite going through MCO. Right? We just passed by MCO, the lockdown, and a lot of people now are complaining because, can you show proof to the letter by KPKT on the extension of time? I pay so long already, the SPA said 3 years, now you got delay lah, extension of time from government lah, whatever lah, right? I just want my house. But from a developer's perspective, they have so much risk to bear as well. The price that we pay was set 3 years ago, but after the lockdown, the cost of materials skyrocketed 3, 5, 10 times some for specific materials. And all those risks needs to be bared by them. Somewhat is easier to just build in situations like this, but a lot of developers choose to just make losses, just break even, right, for some to just deliver the project. But it's very sad for me to see buyers get angry at them. Yes, you can have standards to the deliverables, that's perfectly fine, but just don't personally attack the developer. No one foreseen the lockdown, right? No one foreseen COVID. And that further proves the financial strength of public listed developers. So a lot of people would then think like, when I buy a project, right, I would actually buy from public listed companies compared to smaller boutique companies. Why? They have more certainty. But it all comes with a price because of their heavy governance, their heavy compliance to all requirements set by the rules and regulations. All those require costs. Therefore, the price that we pay will be higher too for their products. And for the projects that you just say, all these developers are public listed ones, so they are fine. Then question number 3, will the area of Semenyih and Salak Tinggi be good for own stay? How is the potential for future development? Okay, 2 parts of it, right? One, Semenyih and Salak Tinggi, is it good for own stay? Only you will know. Because I don't know your lifestyle, your preference, what time you wake up also I don't know. Are you a fan of fishing? Are you a fan of gardening? Are you a fan of crypto trading? Whatever. So my point is, I will not know. It's an answer that only you can figure out. So a suggestion would be to really go and visit, maybe have a homestay around that area several times before you decide on a particular location. That would be my recommendation instead. But then for future value, who can guarantee future value in this case? If anybody who can really like, I foresee the property price of this particular location will double in time. Don't that flirt will put up all his life saving just to fully put it in that area, right? Of course, there are signs to it where you see infrastructures are done, highways are done, and that's the weird part when we say we clearly go in to buy for own stay, right? But then deeply inside, we still want returns from that investment. So is this an investment-oriented purchase or is it purely for own stay? Something to think about. Question number 4, is it a good time to buy now or we wait for another 3 years to buy sub-sales from the same area? Seems like sub-sales are cheaper actually. In my suggestion, if you clearly know which location you want to go already, I think sub-sale would be a better bargain. At least you can push down the price further from the owner so you can really nego. Since you don't get to enjoy the extra rebates from the developer, you don't get extra margin from new purchases anyway, right? Might as well, since you have cash, if you have cash, go sub-sale. I think that's a good idea. Immediately, especially for landed, the point that a lot of people missed out for landed property is one and only. It means this house within this taman is one and only. The views you get, the orientation you get, the build quality, the facing, the road condition, everything is only applicable to that particular unit that you pick. So by going sub-sale for this, yes, choices will be limited as not every owner wants to sell. But within those that want to sell, you can really pick the unit that you like before putting in the money. So that greatly reduces all the uncertainty, and since there's no benefit of you buying from a new project, sub-sale will work better for you actually. I do agree. Number 5, I have a friend who told me that this is not a good time to buy property. Is it correct? Few perspective to this. Is this a personal opinion or is this a fact? Who is this friend that tells you property cannot buy? Unfortunately, all of us are caught in our own realm of reality. You think property can make money? I don't think property can make money. So why? Why do you think now is not the right time? If not the right time, when is the right time? A lot of people like to do this post-game analysis because I'm a huge basketball fan. A lot of people can say a lot of things after the game, but during the game, whether to pass or whether to shoot themselves, the thought process to make that decision is like a split second. It's somewhat like us right now, to buy or not to buy now. But 5 years later, it's very easy to say, oh, I made the wrong decision or I made the right decision. A lot of people are playing that game without having themselves in the game. So before we get advice from people, who are they? And what are the experiences they have? Wouldn't it be weird when this friend tells you not to buy because he has 0 properties? Wouldn't it make more sense from a person who have seen few hundred properties documented all this while to say can buy? Right? So it's entirely up to you. So it's very, very important to audit the person that we are getting advices from. Even if I want to lose weight, right? Do I consult a person with a weight problem, or do I consult a person who have gone through the weight problem and now he's slimmed down already? The right answer to that is any time is the right time to buy. It really depends on what price you are going within the location, because every location has their own median pricing, which means maybe in Mont Kiara now it's 850 per square feet. That's the median price. If you buy above, then you are not making a right decision. If you're buying below, then you are making the right investment. Same thing, if you go to Rawang, if you go to Salak Tinggi or Semenyih, those areas will have a median pricing, right? So it's important to be sensitive to this median pricing. When you buy, it's either above or below. Below, of course, will be better, but sometimes because of new concept, because of new guarded and gated, for more facilities, for more amenities, it can play around. But you just don't go way above. That's the problem with Johor. The whole JB actually transacts around 400 to 500 per square feet, but everybody is buying at 1,000 per square feet in the Iskandar region. So that's why all those collapse. So instead of timing the market to buy, right, time your own pace instead. Are you ready now for a commitment for an extra? Let's say if you buy 800,000, right, you take loan maybe 70% or 90%, but the duration is shorter. Every month you need to pay out 3,000. Are you okay with that? Then now when you make appointments to the viewings, right, if you buy now, within the year you will get the house. Then for renovation, are you ready in terms of cost? Are you ready in terms of budget? All those things, time those instead of trying to time the market, because ultimately, who can? Then number 6, what is my view for the projects that have been shortlisted? Those are great projects, beautiful projects, because these are brand new concepts for landed stratas. Some are individual title, but ultimately they are very well crafted. So for new landed projects versus the old landed, right? New landed projects, usually they come with brand new infrastructure, which means drain. Last time used to be exposed drainage. Now it's all concealed. Then you have street lightings that are dressed up way nicely. They are designed in a better height, a more efficient height. Then road width are different. Drainage system are different. Electrical cablings are different. Orientation, facing, internal specs all different. Of course, sizes tend to be smaller and more expensive because all this planning, along with the inflation of building materials right now, right? Those are the elements for the higher price of property right now. But definitely they will be more comfortable. But if you really do see charm in older developments, like the individual title ones, and it's within budget, go ahead. So those you can really do renovation all by yourself, because the landed strata ones have a clause where you cannot renovate the facade. What's the point then to own a property, right? A lot of people will think that, hey, I spent so much money to buy a landed property, then I cannot renovate the house. Then what for I buy? For me, I don't want to change. But for you, if you want to change, so please, again, understand yourself rather than trying to time the market, trying to time the product. Because if you don't have enough self-awareness, this process is going to be very, very painful, especially at the rate of launching right now. Almost every weekend there will be a new project, a new project, a new project, a new project. Then if you don't, like, yeah, this one cannot one, and then sold out, then FOMO kicked in and whatsoever. This whole process is not going to be pleasant. To be more efficient, the 4 basic steps, for those, just take this as a revision. Know your intent. The intent is for a retirement, or somewhat deep down you still want it to be an investment property. Make that clear, because the entire calculation for things is going to be different. The consideration for the property type then will be different. My argument, if you really want ideal retirement house, why don't just go back to the hometown? More value for money, closer to the parents. You guys just chill all the way. Why still stay somewhat away from the city? If you want, just straight away go to kampong lah. The second thing, budget. So in terms of your financial situation, how much loan can you qualify? So how much capital are you prepared for an old house in terms of renovation, or if older house you need repair before the renovation? All those gotta be within your calculation before you go in and commit yourself. The third, I think you've seen few already, like around 10 to 20 of them. So I think this is good, but match that with the first 2 criteria. Then I wish all the best for step 4. Make that informed decision. But in conclusion today, right, I think this is a perfect email, because a lot of people think that I'm a hater of landed properties. No, I'm not a hater for dream home also. It's just that timing plays a part in this equation. Like the whole situation of you getting a dream home when you're 28, right? At 28, what have you seen? You haven't even crossed quarter of your lifetime yet. Because most of the time, dream home is only up to the budget that you can afford. Let's say if I can afford $1 million, or the dream home will be around 3 million, because that's the mark that I set in accordance to my own salary cap. But at 45, I'm earning maybe way more than 28 already, and that dream home actually is attainable. But at that moment of time, you know that it's not about fanciness, it's not about impressing anyone else anymore. This is when you truly know what you really like and the life that you really want. That's when you can gauge, oh, I want a landed because I want to renovate my house. I don't like the layout in the market. I want to renovate my own. I prepared all this while. So get your dream home. But if you're getting it at 30 or 28, you're tying yourself up with commitments which will lead you to losing out on opportunities. Let's say if there's a new position in Thailand that they really need a senior role, they were considering you, but you cannot leave. Your house is here, your commitment is here. Maybe you want to start a business, you need capital, but all the money all spent on renovation already. Those kind of things will play out eventually. But the ultimate caveat to the statement is, if you have money, you have sufficient pharma foundations supporting you, by all means, right? But this is only from an angle when resources is insufficient, which is like my case lah. And I guess that's all for this episode. Shout out to Miss I again for the email. Hope this email somewhat clarifies the situation, and I hope all the best. Congratulations in your semi-retirement. And for those who still have any questions regarding real estate, do just email me at taniherng@gmail.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram, iherng, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao. When love comes